You know what I've come to realize over the course of my film reviewing career? Every critic has that one movie that they can't quite comprehend why it's disliked. Roger Ebert has Congo, Mark Kermode has Hudson Hawk. This is mine. That movie nut here, back with a review for the Gingerbread Man, the 1998 legal thriller starring Kenneth Branagh, Embeth Davidtz, Robert Duvall, Tom Berenger, and Robert Downey Jr. The story follows a Savannah lawyer played by Kenneth Branagh who becomes involved in an affair with one of his clients, a woman who claims she is being stalked by her mentally unstable father. However, even when the father is arrested and put away, he escapes, and soon the lawyer's life begins to turn upside down and his family are put in danger. The performances, as can be expected from an ensemble cast in an Altman film, are all round very good. Though really, how could you expect any less from the likes of Robert Duvall, who plays the unstable father with a great degree of menace, alternating between calm and pure rage, Robert Downey Jr. as a perverted private detective who is friends with Magruder, and obviously is enjoying himself very much in the role, creating the ideal sort of character that you love to hate. And Branagh, to his credit, does a surprisingly good southern accent, and gives the role the intensity it needs for a man who's effectively under fire, as his life starts crumbling all around him. Embeth Davidtz, who you might best know as Miss Honey from Matilda, plays the character of the stalked woman with a mix of sympathy but also southern fieriness. Very much the kind of person that you would expect to come from a broken family. The only one who seems a bit out of place here is Tom Berenger, and though he gives a good performance, there's nothing about this character that really says this absolutely needs Berenger, playing the relatively minor role of a rigger and the sleazy ex of Embeth Davidtz' character Mallory. He was really more of a name on the poster than anything else, as this role could have really been played by anybody. Not to mention he only has about 10 minutes of screen time throughout the entire film. From a visual standpoint though, the film looks great. There are some great uses of sweeping shots over the savannah with the swamps, rivers, and bayous, not to mention some great nighttime work that adds a very creepy and sinister atmosphere, and makes you really believe that this is the kind of area that Robert Duvall's character, these sort of crazy old countrymen, could come from. Especially towards the end, when the hurricane in the story really starts coming to the fore, there's some great rain and lightning effects that just add so much and really up the tension as the characters have to fight through it. Plus, the use of country contrasts nicely with the cleaner, more polished, upper-class decorations of Magruder's office and the courts and all these places that feel more upper-class than the bayous. Add to that some incredibly tight editing, as can be expected from a master like Altman, such as the breakout scene, which occurs while Magruder and Mallory are talking about the story of the Gingerbread Man, hence the title, and which almost has a strangely supernatural quality to it with the combination of lightning and the facial expressions of Duvall as he escapes. Or later when there's a car chase, and you've got a very tensely constructed film that is consistently compelling. Add to that Mark Isham, a composer who in my eyes is very hit or miss, provides a suitably simplistic score here that underscores each scene using a minimal amount of instruments, and having sort of a scratchy, sketchy quality to it, contributing further to the raw, untamed quality of the savannah and its inhabitants. And well, we come to the big one, script. How does it exactly stack up, especially given the film's troubled production history, which included massive fights between Altman and the studio after audiences didn't exactly react positively to an early cut of the film? To be honest, fairly solid. Don't get me wrong, there are a couple of points and a few twists here and there which you'll be able to see coming a mile away, though that's more to do with the conventions of the genre rather than bad writing. However, in spite of this, the film was just so well constructed. It was really tight, each scene knew where it needed to end, and the story had a consistent pace to it, and boasted quite a few tense moments and scenes which had me on the edge of my seat. Much like, ironically, one of these potboiler novels that you'd expect from the likes of John Grisham, of whose unfinished work this movie is based off. Additionally, the title makes perfect sense, as this film's central theme is deception, and much like the original Gingerbread Man in the story, Magruder is deceived by those around him and drawn into something more sinister. And speaking of Magruder, what I like about this character is the fact that even though he cheats on his wife, he's not a bad person. As we see, he does very much care about his kids, and it very much plays off the other characters. Every person in the film is flawed in some regard, and that helps you believe that these are more realistic people, and not just cartoon characters. Not to mention, the fact that they are flawed once again plays into the deception theme, as they may seem one way, but they turn out to be something else. And as you see Magruder's world crumbling around him, you do actually feel for him. Not to mention, he's proactive. He doesn't sit around and whine. He actually makes the effort to try and get to the bottom of what's going on, not to mention try and protect his kids from what he believes is Dixon's work. He's in a situation and he tries to find a way to get out of it and solve what's going on. And to me, that's the mark of a good protagonist, when they're being proactive and determined to do something about it. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mean to put this film up on a pedestal of any sort. As I mentioned earlier, there are a number of cliché and familiar moments, which, as fun as they are, or as well done as they are, like, say, the car chase, they still very much feel like familiar thriller territory. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because when it's as stylishly directed by someone like Altman, and when the actors are clearly putting effort into it, you can forget that it's familiar territory and be actually immersed in a decent story, and that's what this is. It does the job that, again, great potboilers do. You get into the story and into its characters. It may not be groundbreaking, but at the very least, you're being entertained, and a number of times I was on the edge of my seat because I was invested in what was going on. Whenever the story became a little mundane or sketchy, Altman and the cast were there to pick it up, and by the end I was completely sucked in and I was just enjoying every moment. Not to mention the climax is probably one of the most unique and frankly best from any late 90s thriller, though I won't spoil what it is. And so, to wrap up, I will give Gingerbread Man a silver star. It may not be one of the classics of the genre, nor is it among Altman's best, but I feel that it's been burned unfairly with a bad reputation. It may not be the most original or groundbreaking film that Altman ever made, but it still is a very enjoyable, very well-made thriller with a lot of good moments in it.